Hi there, my name is Jen and welcome to my channel. I'm a mama of two girls, Elora and Juliet, and I've exclusively pumped with both of them and have learned so much about what works and what doesn't work when you're on that exclusively pumping or breastfeeding journey. And I'm excited today. We're going to be sharing how I was able to pump over 5,000 ounces of breast milk these last 3 months. And hopefully you can take some tips and tricks from me that you can implement in your own pumping journey. So let's get started. So I'm not going to lie or sugarcoat it for you. You definitely have to pump at least 10 times a day for the first month to be able to produce a high level of milk. And I know this can be super exhausting when you factor in washing all of the equipment, the cycle of feeding your baby, and pumping while trying to get sleep. It can be really hard, and I feel ya. But when you finally get past this hurdle in the beginning, you'll have a consistent and a rewarding amount of milk months to come. I followed this schedule of pumping every 3 hours opposite when I would feed my daughter. So for example, if I fed her at 7, I would pump at 8, then I would feed her again at 10 and pump at 11. If you follow this schedule and you can write it out, it's going to help you to keep all your time straight, because trust me, you'll be too tired. To make sure that you're able to get some sleep, it's also okay to pump every 4 hours for 2 of the sessions during the day or night, and I recommend doing this at night if you're able to have somebody help you with the night feedings. So to get started on pumping, I actually used ChatGPT to plan out how I was going to hit my milk goals. Did you know that you could do that? Here I plugged in just an example to show you. In order to hit a 6-month milk stash, this calculated out all of the numbers so you don't have to spend time, kind of adding up ounces, anything like that. And it even gave me some pointers on how to hit the goal at the end, which is pretty cool. I was really not excited to start pumping again the second time around, so I liked that ChatGPT kind of broke it down month by month and gave me the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of how long is it actually going to take me to hit my milk goal. It did the opposite. It made me really excited. I also ate foods that were really high in iron, potassium, and protein at least 3 times a day. I aimed for around a 3,000 calorie diet if you're someone who likes to keep track of your calorie intake, with one of the major food groups with each meal. So a few meals I continuously saw a huge milk boost with included foods like avocado toast with eggs and fruit for breakfast, chicken stir fry for lunch, and chili for dinner, as just an example of what my day might look like. Again, just made sure to always have a fruit, vegetable, protein, and a grain with every meal to ensure that I'm properly fueling my body, and that helped a ton. I can't explain the science behind this, but it's legit. If you eat a lot of refined sugar, it also has a huge damper on your milk supply. Try, even just for a couple weeks, to cut out any extra sugar. And I'm not talking about fruit sugar, just added sugar. It will make a huge difference. No matter what, I always have snacks on hand that are rich in nutrients rather than just what you might be craving. Your hormones are still in crazy mode, so you might want to reach for a honey bun versus a banana with peanut butter, but no, the truth is you're not going to produce very much milk that way. Here are some snacks that I've been reaching for lately that have helped to boost milk production. My favorites have been these solely organic fruit jerkies and the Cluster Bucks granola, but I also love to reach for lactation cookies or some trail mix. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a drink while you're breastfeeding, but if you're uncomfortable with it, definitely, talk to your doctor or get those alcohol testing strips. I've used those in the past. I will say, be careful what you're drinking when it comes to milk production. 100%, I believe that beer is a solid amplifier when it comes to producing more milk, while hard alcohol actually reduces your milk. If you haven't heard of power pumping, there's a lot of different time lengths that you can do this for, but they're all super effective. If you have a drop in your supply, try adding in a power pumping session twice a day to boost the milk that you produce, and it can be a time commitment, so make sure that you just have enough food, maybe do it after like a heavier lunch, and plenty of water to drink. I did this 3 days a week for the first month, and it really increased my supply. One time I was able to produce 14 ounces on each side during one of these sessions. So when it comes to your equipment, that's probably going to be the most important thing that I would spend some time working through or thinking about before you actually start pumping. The most important reason being you want to make sure that you have items that are going to be comfortable for you. If you're not comfortable, you're not going to produce milk, and the milk that you do produce is going to be really painful, messy, all the things you're not really looking for, especially in those first couple of days after you have your baby. So first things first, I would get at least 2 pumping bras. You don't need to go crazy getting a bunch of them. I will include just a picture of the one I prefer. It is the Medela zip up. It doesn't have straps, so it's really nice, especially if you're going back to work or if you don't want to worry about if your pumping bra will be accessible with your outfit, all the things. Get familiar with the pump that you are planning on using before you start pumping. So I have the pump in style. I recommend having not only the short bottles, but the tall bottles, especially as your milk comes in and you start to get a consistent milk supply. These tall bottles are going to be really nice, especially in the morning and at night when you're producing a higher level of milk. I can't tell you how many times I've had the short bottle on and I'll be pumping and then I have to stop and get up and pour this out so I can keep pumping more milk. So those tall bottles are just super convenient. I highly recommend having those on hand as well. Next thing is going to be your flange, which I know all of the pumps do come with a couple of standard sizes, but not everyone is at standard size. I know with my first daughter, I kind of just used what they had in the box without knowing what size to use, and it was really painful, but I kind of just thought this is how pumping is supposed to be. So I didn't think, maybe I should ask for help from anyone who has pumped before. I kind of just powered through it for 9 months, and looking back, it's like, I don't know how I did that. So this time around with my second daughter at the hospital, when I was speaking to the lactation consultant, I asked her, can you please help me find the size flange that's going to be the best for me? They were more than happy to do that, but I couldn't find the size flange, so I just hopped on Amazon. It was like $10 for the flanges that I actually needed, and it made a huge difference when it comes to pumping. Maybe have 2 or even 3 sets of your pump parts. Just that way you're not having to do so much washing. If you have a partner who's kind of committed to doing all of the washing, then that is so awesome, and I'm so happy for you. But something that really has saved me a lot of time and a lot of effort, especially when you're pumping 10 plus times a day, get the second set. You won't regret it. You can hop on Amazon and get those, or you can reach out to the supplier directly. So check those out. I also really recommend having a mobile pump or portable pump. I have this LV, and if you have any questions on the LV specifically, please let me know. I'm more than happy to kind of dive into it more. Comes apart very easily. These pumps are not crazy to figure out, which I think is great. But as far as being able to produce more milk, I would switch off. So you don't want your body to get used to, say, your Medela pump or your Spectra or whatever you have. If I were you, and I've done this myself, I will switch off. So I'll use my Medela pump a couple times a day, and then the rest of my pumping sessions, I will use my LV. And that gives your body a different stimulation, and therefore makes your body think you need more milk at a different pace. Has also made a huge difference this time around is this awesome Baby Brezza Pro. It's a washer, dryer, and sterilizer. It's kind of big, not gonna lie, when it's sitting on your countertop, but it is a really great machine that has saved me a ton of time when it comes to washing. You can kind of see it getting in there. You can put bottles, pacifiers, nipples, really anything in there, and it will wash it in about an hour and a half. So for my setup, I do have this over here. I also keep a drying rack just with clean pump parts that are ready to go. I also make sure to take my postnatal vitamins. I really like these from Ritual. They don't make me want to throw up every time I take them. Super important. I just keep those over here so I actually remember to take them. I also wanted to mention too, sorry to kind of backtrack, but the Baby Brezza Pro is pretty expensive. If you're looking for something more affordable, I recommend these Medela Quick Clean Micro Steam Bag. They are a pretty heavy plastic. You can just put your pump parts in here, pop it in the microwave for about a minute and a half, and then your pump parts are sterilized. Super handy if you're going back to work. I did that with my first daughter. I had to go back to work within a month, so I kept these with me, and it made pumping throughout the day much easier. easier. But these are also just a great option if you're looking for something more cost effective and handy to have on hand. I also took these to Disneyland. You could take them to the zoo, really wherever you go. It just makes pumping on the go much easier. And finally, I really do recommend having some sort of double wall insulated cup. You can use a Stanley, Ottawa water bottle, really anything. I have this bottle from Willow. I will link it down below, but it's specifically for transporting breast milk. So like when we went to Disneyland, I had pumped and then put all of my milk in here, and it stayed cold throughout the entire 14-hour day, which was awesome, but super helpful. I think, you know, when you're on the go, you don't have to worry about, you know, am I going to be home within 4 hours? You know, the internal mom guilt and questions that you kind of throw at yourself when pumping on the go. This definitely alleviates that. So give that a try. So something I also forgot to mention is the Medela storage bags. Any storage bag brand will work for you, but just don't forget to get these. You can get them on Amazon super quick, but if you're like me, forget to order them, just have a bunch on hand because they will fly by before you know it, and it just stinks when you're in the middle of a great pumping day and you realize I forgot to get more bags. So don't forget these for sure. So this is my pumping cart setup. Just ignore the fort in the background. My toddler was having a ton of fun with that this morning. But I really like to keep this cart next to me when I pump. It's just an easy way to have easy access to my pump and everything that I do need. I have my portable charger for my pump if I'm planning to go somewhere. To be honest, it's a little more chaotic up here than it normally is, but I have my nipple butter. Definitely recommend the Honest Calm Your Nip Balm. Again, toddler, if you know, you know. I have all my teethers over here. These, I really liked these. I tried these out this time around. They are hot and cold packs by Freedom Mom. I don't really use them so much anymore, but let me tell you, when I was first starting to pump, maybe like the first month and a half, I was using these every single time because the letdown reflex can be kind of brutal sometimes. And when you're pumping, it's a little different than if you're, you know, traditionally breastfeeding as far as getting a good letdown reflex. So highly recommend those for that beginning stage. I also like to keep just a couple of things to do because when you're pumping and strapped to a cord, it can get boring. I got a little over just scrolling on Instagram for a while, so I've been working on this promptly journal. This is actually for my daughter Elora, but I just was so busy the last couple years and didn't have time to kind of go through it, so I'm doing that now as I pump. Second shelf, pretty self-explanatory. Everything diapering that you could need. And my third shelf, I just keep extra burp cloths, swaddles, and outfits. Yeah, pretty simple, but it's been a really great setup for me. I keep it right next to where I pump on the couch. So when it comes to milk storage, I do keep all of breast milk in this 7 square foot freezer. I do put 7 ounces, trying to show you, 7 ounces of milk in each individual Medela stasher bag, and then I do put 8 bags within a gallon size freezer bag of milk, and this does last for a couple of months. So I knew when I was deciding to build up a stasher amount for my daughter, I needed to kind of calculate what that would look like, how long it would last me. Thankfully, the milk that I do have stored is going to last about 4 months. So even after I decide to stop pumping, I have 4 months of milk backed up. That will last quite a bit. So super happy about that. All right. And finally, I did want to just kind of touch on something that really bothered me the first time I exclusively pumped. I did receive a lot of comments from various people, different opinions on what it means to actually breastfeed. And if you're exclusively pumping, you're not actually breastfeeding. And I think that was not very helpful, first of all, and actually kind of hurtful. And I didn't notice just until a couple of years years later, you know, looking back now, I can see just how much that kind of put a hindrance on how much milk I was able to produce. I really do think it just was like a mental stigma that I wasn't really comfortable with, and it did have a negative effect on me. So I just wanted to say, you know, mom to mom, I think you're doing a great job. If you choose to exclusively pump or just supplement with pumped milk, you know, that's awesome. And it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of extra dishes, and patience to be able to do. So I applaud you. I think you're doing awesome. And just have some pride. You know, if people ask you, are you actually breastfeeding, or what's your plan? Are you using formula? I'm so proud of that. I'm able to feed my baby and make sure that they have the nourishment that they need. So put all that stigma aside, and just remember that I think you're doing an amazing job. All right, friends, well, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Please feel free to like and subscribe. I do have some really great content coming your way on motherhood and postpartum, so keep an eye out, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!